Tell us little bit about yourself. You worked for the X Prize before you went to work for CSF.
That's right. So my background's in aerospace engineering. I went to Purdue University for undergrad, and then to Stanford University for graduate school. And at that time, you know, the space industry had really been sort of in an uncertain, with an uncertain future. People were not sure if the space shuttle was going to be basically the way of getting into space for the foreseeable future. They were talking about the space shuttle flying out through 2020. And then in 2004, the X Prize was won, and a whole big change at the national level of space policy was put in place to retire the space shuttle by 2010. And that was a really big deal. That basically gave students like me, I was a student at the time, they gave us really some hope that there was going to be some cool new stuff happening, that there was going to be new vehicles, new designs, new technologies being developed. And so I went to work at the X Prize, where I could really be at the center of where a lot of that exciting stuff was happening.
I asked this of a lot of our interview guests. How did you originally become attracted to space? What turned you on about space? How did you come to it?
Sure. So that actually goes all the way back to when I was a little kid reading science fiction. Arthur C. Clarke, Robert Heinlein, Isaac Asimov, all of the greats. Read it all, loved it all, always wanted to go into space, always wanted to work in the space industry. So it's really been actually quite a blessing to be able to work in this period of history where I think some of the most exciting things are going on in space in history.
What do you see that particularly enthuses you about the current status of the space industry?
Well, what's so exciting is that you have these vehicles actually being built and tested as we speak, and you really have a whole array of new vehicles getting off the ground. So, there actually was a long period where really the only thing flying in the United States was the space shuttle. And the space shuttle is an amazing machine, but we want a whole array of vehicles flying. We want people in competition with one another. We want it to be just like the airlines. We want just like the early days of aviation. People doing exciting new stuff, trying different things out, seeing what works. And what is so exciting about this particular time is that this is right now when these vehicles are getting off the ground and starting to fly.
And what do you see about the current environment that you don't particularly like?
Well, certainly it's a tough time for any kind of, trying to develop any kind of new policy framework in Washington, D.C. I think everybody recognizes that. Things have gotten really bogged down there. It can be really tough to get things done. And the space industry, even when you have a lot of private activities going on with private investment, you still have to do a lot of work with the government, especially when you want to serve NASA, which is a huge potential customer. So it's really important to be able to work with the federal government on these policy issues. And whenever that gets bogged down, it just becomes really tough.
And do you see any rays of hope inside the Beltway?
Maybe a few here or there. But, the real rays of hope are from the companies themselves, because when they actually get their vehicles up and flying, that really just cuts straight through all the clutter. I mean, there's nothing like seeing a rocket-powered spaceship take off and fly into the sky. That has everybody, and including all the people that normally don't pay any attention to space, they all stop and they say, wow. And then you can get some things done. So the real rays of hope are not from Washington. They're from the companies themselves and the great things that they're doing. I mean, so I think it's actually a fantastic opportunity that we have with the developments that are going on in the commercial space industry to get kids excited about science and engineering. and going into careers in science and engineering. You know, with the number of engineers that other countries like China and India are graduating each year, the United States has got to find every way we can to get kids excited about going into science, math, engineering careers, and then going and doing great stuff with that, whether it being starting a new company or developing a new technology. And we've got to make that happen. And I actually think there is no better tool for getting kids excited about science and engineering than them getting to see a rocket launch. You know, I have friends in all these different industries, biotech and nanotech and some clean energy stuff. And, you know, they also think it's absolutely critically important for us as a country to get kids inspired. But they actually don't have the tools. They're very frustrated. You know, they can bring a kid into a lab and say, well, these molecules are arranging themselves in this particular way, and that's really cutting edge and exciting, but you're just going to have to trust me on that because I can't really show you. Whereas we have these huge marvels of engineering that are the size of buildings that lift off the ground and fly off into the sky and into space. I mean, and then you have people flying on board, so you have the human element, and people it really speaks to everything that they understand and appreciate as human beings. So I cannot think of any better way to get kids excited than all of the upcoming launches and test flights that are going to happen in the commercial space industry. And we've just got to figure out a way to leverage that. We've got to figure out a way to use all that and to its maximum benefit for the country.